Hey guys, welcome back to some Banjo-Kazooie. This time in 4x3. Reason being is we're back on original hardware for, the big thing. It's time for Stop and Swap, which we're going to be showing on both versions, but primarily with the N64, as it was kind of designed for this system, more or less, so there are differences. So let's just speed the heck out of this now. You type in cheat, you activate a Cheeto cheat at that point. A cheat code you're not allowed to use, which, if you hear the mooing, you know you got it right. This is gonna take a while.
By the way, you have to type out that whole phrase.
Yep, I'm not kidding. This whole section of just typing out the codes took 20 minutes.
Now, quick question. I know you can do this in the 360 version, but do you have to have a fresh file, a fresh profile in order to get it?
Yeah, so here's how this will actually work, and it's a good thing you bring that up. The reason why we're doing this on N64 is because of a weird quirk with the cheat code system in the Xbox version. So if you type in any cheat that you don't unlock normally in the game, saving will be disabled. So if you try to get the stop and swap items using the cheat codes, you are not allowed to, because the game, while you can still activate the cheats and collect the item, it will not save the item to your inventory. So the only way to get these items in the 360 version is you need to have a copy of Banjo-Tooie or Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, have a save file from one of those games on the console, and then the stop and swap stuff automatically activates inside of your game. You don't need to type in these cheat codes at all. They'll all just be active.
Kind of like the Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 final mix save data affecting the rechain of memories bonus cards.
It's a nice thing about the 360 version. You don't have to do this tedious code entering thing, because this was the worst part about the original. And there are slight text differences, mainly just for the first couple items, so we do kind of look at both, because I gotta collect both versions of stop and swap items here. Main difference is that the 360 version has flavor text for nuts and bolts, while the original is like, what the heck is this thing?
Can you still put the codes in the 360 version?
Yeah, again, you can still use the codes, but saving's disabled after you use it, so they're kind of useless for that reason. Like, they still work, but there's really no reason to actually use them.
Cheated desert door opens wide, ancient secrets wait inside.
Yeah, so just from the code itself, you can kind of get an idea of where these cheats activate. So this one, since it says desert, you know this is Gobi's Valley.
So the whole point in terms of the 360 version is instead it uses the save data to unlock it, and you just have to try and find where the eggs are based on the cheat description.
Well, more or less, like, half of them are freebies, because there are, like, a handful of eggs from the stop and swap situation that are just out in the open. Like, one of them is on Namnuts' table, one of them is on a bed in Rusty Bucket Bay. Some of them are just a little too easy. And we'll see those coming up.
Quick question, too. Is the only way you can only get these, if you... Okay, let's say you're playing 360 version. And you don't have Banjo-Tooie or Nuts and Bolts save data on your save system. The only way you can get this is with the codes, right?
No, because the codes, while they work, you can't save. Again, you enter the codes, you can't save the game anymore. So those items will not be recorded.
N64, the only option is the codes, and 360, the only non-soft locking option is lock-on, effectively.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, because you need the other games on your system and at least play for this to actually work. You don't need to have, like, a save that has, a certain amount of progress. It just needs to exist on the console. So again, here's a little bit of a flavor text difference between the two versions. Original is like, what is this thing? Xbox is like, hey, nuts and bolts. And also, I hope this isn't a cruel joke, and we can actually use them this time. Damn it, Rare.
Sassy bad.
Cheat. Don't you go and tell her about the secret in the cellar.
Yeah, don't, please. Leave it a secret. She doesn't want to enter this code. Whoever she is in question.
Why does it sound like you're hiding a pile of bodies in a wine cellar. It's like, don't tell your wife. What?
I mean, we don't know what's in that egg, so for all we know, it could be a pile of bodies.
Banjo, what are you not telling us?
I was the imposter.
He's the imposter. He keeps the bodies in the wine cellar.
Don't tell Kazooie, though. Yeah, we kind of ran out of flavor text for a little bit, so we're just going to get the egg and get out of here. You can tell you're in the area with Stop and Swap stuff when you hear a little victory jingle play. So that kind of helps, because certain areas, again, these are just going to be freebies. So they're just going to be an obvious area you're going to explore just for collecting stuff. And you'll know if there's a Stop and Swap item in there because of the jingle.
Man, Mad Monster Mansion, why do you get 2 Stop and Swap items?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because this one is one of those out in the open items that isn't hard to find. It has a super secret thing that you don't know what to do with, and then one that's on top of a toilet.
Does that make sense?
I guess while this is all going on, I do want to mention one thing. I'm recording the N64 stuff specifically on an emulator, and there's a very good reason for this. On the N64 version, Stop and Swap is a one-time thing. So if you do this on your cartridge at all in your lifetime, it's done permanently. You can never do this again. So the only way to fix this is to get a Game Shark and wipe your save off of the system entirely. There's no other way to do this on N64 again. So we're just utilizing an N64 emulator that hasn't played the game really before to do all this. On the 360 version, the same thing applies, but if you just delete the Banjo save off of your hard drive, then you can do Stop and Swap again.
Oh, this is baffling.
Stop and Swap is a confusing beast.
I might have to check, because I'm gonna have to go check my copy of Banjo on N64.
Oh, in case someone's already got them before.
Yeah. Because that could easily have happened. I've seen some carts that it doesn't have it fully completed, but like some of it is done if you buy it used, which doesn't help. Also, this one's a freebie. You just walk in this room and egg. You can easily see it on camera. Probably the easiest one in the whole game.
Cheat now. Banjo will be able to see it on Nabnut's table, because Nabnut
He was
forgot
staring at it for ages.
It's not a nut. I can't use this. I'm supposed to do it in an egg.
Nabnut's kind of dumb.
I guess another thing I should mention is, since you brought up like the whole used cart thing, maybe having Stop and Swap data, Matt. Like another thing about the 360 version in particular is, like I said, you can delete your save to do this again on 360, like actually from the system, not inside of Banjo-Kazooie. But you can also just make a new profile on the 360, which won't have the Stop and Swap data on it, so you can just keep on making profiles. Sucks if you're doing that on like an Xbox One, because it needs an actual Xbox Live account. You have to keep on making digital accounts to do it, not just offline ones, but you can still do that too.
Okay, so I just need to make a new profile if I want to show Stop and Swap properly.
Yeah, again, Stop and Swap is just a confusing beast. I had to use a new profile because on my 360, I've already done Stop and Swap stuff for Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. Banjo-Tooie also has the same issue, but only with the 360 version. Because of this thing, the Stop and Swap originally was supposed to work between Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie on the actual hardware by utilizing like the 10 seconds of memory stored in RAM. So you would swap your cartridges out and then just move the data across. But Nintendo released a revision of the N64 not too long after Banjo-Kazooie, at that point being in production, I guess, where the 10 seconds trimmed down to like less than 1 in terms of memory. So Rare scrapped this idea. In Banjo-Tooie, you just collect the Stop and Swap items in the game itself. But in the 360 version, these items actually transfer over into Banjo-Tooie. And because of that, Stop and Swap 2 was born. Thought this rabbit hole was bad enough, they made a new one. We'll get into that mess when we get to Banjo-Tooie.
Enormous ice key, which is something different than the eggs we found.
Do you want to see me collect the ice egg? want to see me do it again.
I think it'd be nice to keep-
I mean, the ice key. It could be an egg. Should probably keep this one for later, and Kazooie's right, because out of all the items, the key is probably the best one for Banjo-Tooie's sake, because it does give you a transformation.
Yeah.
One of these eggs, I can't remember the color off the top of my head, is a good one, because it gives you homing eggs, which is one of the best cheat codes in Banjo-Tooie. So let's just make sure we got everything now, because there's like 7 items in total here. And there's everything. This only shows up if you start collecting stop and swap items. This doesn't actually show up on the N64. I even believe 360 if you haven't gotten anything yet.
Hmm.
Well, there you go. We got all the at least all the collectibles now.
Good, now I just effectively wasted my time on N64, but I got something in positive game for 360. My head hurts. I need to go lie down.
You collected a migraine.